Have you ever tried to learn something technical online and felt like the instructor was just speaking a totally different language?
Yeah.
I know I have.
Oh, yeah.
And today, we're diving into some seriously smart tips from online learning expert Patricia Regier
Okay.
that I think will completely change how you approach online learning and teaching,
All right.
especially when things get a little technical.
Yeah, what's really fascinating about Regier's advice
Yeah.
is it's rooted in practical experience,
Right.
but also an understanding of how we learn as humans.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Okay.
One of the things that really stuck with me from Regier's advice was her emphasis on slowing down,
Okay.
especially when demonstrating technical skills.
Oh, yeah.
She suggests using what she calls the chunk and chew method.
Interesting.
And I thought that was such a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
Because think about it, when we're learning something new online, especially technical skills,
Yeah.
we're engaging multiple senses at once.
Yeah.
We're watching.
Yeah.
We're listening. Maybe even taking notes if we're really trying to get into it.
Absolutely.
It's a lot for our brains to process.
It is a lot. Yeah.
It's like trying to follow a recipe,
Okay.
but the recipe's in a foreign language.
Yeah.
You might recognize a couple of the words,
Uh,
but if you don't understand the grammar
Right.
and the context,
yeah.
you're going to end up with a culinary disaster.
Yeah. A complete mess.
Totally.
Yeah. So with this chunk and chew method,
Okay.
you break down these complex tasks into
Right.
smaller, more digestible pieces.
Ah.
And then you give learners time to chew on each step
Okay.
before moving on.
Yeah.
So this could involve
Okay.
building in pauses in your content,
Oh, interesting.
checks for understanding, or even interactive elements just to make sure that people are really with you
Right.
and they're understanding what you're trying to explain.
That makes so much sense. So instead of overwhelming learners with this fire hose of information,
Right.
you're giving them the space and time to actually absorb each concept
Yes.
before moving on to the next
It's
one.
so important.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
This is especially important
Yeah.
when you consider that not everybody learns at the same pace,
Oh, totally.
right? Some people can keep up with a fast-paced tutorial, no problem, but then others might need a little bit more time to process each step.
Exactly. And it's all about recognizing that
Yeah.
and catering to those different learning styles.
I'm remembering this time I was trying to learn how to edit videos online,
Okay.
and the instructor was going through the steps so fast.
Oh.
I could barely keep up.
Yeah.
By the end, I felt so lost
Right.
and frustrated.
Yeah. And that's the opposite of what we want.
Oh,
We
what's
want
that?
people to feel empowered, when
They're learning.
not defeated.
Exactly.
So Regier also talks about how important it is to remember the learner's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
And she uses this really great example of going on a road trip with her husband to illustrate this.
Okay.
So imagine you're driving down the highway
All right.
and your passenger says, "Did you see that car?"
Mm-hmm.
But they don't tell you where to look.
Oh.
Was it to the left, to the right, behind you?
Yeah.
Where was this car?
I can see how that could lead to some miscommunication
Absolutely.
on a road trip.
Big time.
Yeah.
And it's the same with online learning.
Okay.
If instructions aren't clear and specific,
Right.
learners can get so easily lost.
Totally. Like that online video editing tutorial I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The instructor kept saying, click here and drag this over there.
Yeah.
But they weren't actually saying what the buttons or the tools were called.
Oh, wow.
So I was just clicking around everywhere.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
That's a perfect example of why clear verbal descriptions are so important for accessibility
Yeah.
and better comprehension, because
Yeah.
not everyone can watch the screen.
Right.
Some people might have visual impairments. Others might be multitasking.
Okay.
Maybe they're listening to this deep dive while they're doing the dishes
Right.
or folding laundry.
Right.
Or some people might be in an environment where they can't have the volume up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So they need those clear verbal descriptions.
And even for those of us who can watch the screen,
Yeah.
I think having those clear verbal descriptions really reinforces our understanding.
Absolutely.
It's like getting the information twice.
Yes.
Visually and through audio.
It just helps solidify the learning
Totally.
and engages more of your brain.
Regier also briefly touches on the idea of multimodal learning,
Okay.
which is basically offering your content in different formats,
Right.
like videos,
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, like what we're doing,
Yeah.
and even blog posts.
That's a really smart strategy
It is.
because it acknowledges that everyone learns differently.
Exactly.
Some people are visual learners.
Yeah.
Some people prefer to listen. Some people like to read and go at their own pace.
So it's important to kind of be self-aware
Yeah.
of how you learn best
Absolutely.
and seek out content that matches your learning style.
Yeah. Think about it for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you like watching videos? Do you prefer to listen to podcasts?
Right.
Maybe you like to read articles.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to figure out what works best for you.
Now let's take all these insights and connect them to the bigger picture.
Right.
These tips aren't just for online learning.
Yeah.
They're really valuable for online facilitation as well.
Absolutely.
So if you're leading a training session online or a virtual meeting,
Okay.
slowing down,
Yes.
providing clear descriptions,
Mm-hmm.
remembering the learner's perspective,
Right.
it can make such a huge difference in how effectively you communicate your message.
Totally. Whether you're presenting at a virtual conference,
Yeah.
leading a team meeting,
Mm-hmm.
or even just explaining something to a colleague over a video chat,
Yeah,
these principles can help you.
for sure.
Make sure your message is being heard.
So to wrap things up,
Okay.
we've learned some really valuable tips from Patricia Regier today
Yeah, we have.
about how to excel at online learning and facilitation,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're dealing with more technical subject matter.
Exactly. It all boils down to this.
Okay.
Slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Use clear descriptions.
Right.
Don't assume everyone is following along at the same pace.
Yeah.
You really got to remember the learner.
And on that note,
Okay.
here's a final thought-provoking question for you.
All right.
What are your biggest frustrations with online learning?
Yeah. Think about that.
And how can you apply these tips, whether you're the learner or the facilitator?
Right. If you're creating online tutorials, are you explaining things clearly enough?
Mm-hmm.
Are you moving at a pace that works for everyone?
And if you're the learner,
Yeah.
are you actively looking for content that fits your learning style?
Right.
Are you taking the time to really process the information?
It's all about being mindful
Yeah.
and intentional.
And remember, the world of online learning is constantly evolving.
Totally.
So there's always something new to discover.
Always.
You know, it's so easy to just get caught up in the excitement of learning something new
Right.
and forget that not everyone absorbs information the same way.
Totally.
And that's why Regier's tips are so valuable,
Mm-hmm.
because they remind us to be more mindful and intentional
Right.
in how we approach online learning and teaching.
Absolutely.
What I find really interesting is how these tips can apply to all sorts of online interactions,
Oh, yeah.
not just formal learning environments.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
I mean, think about how much we communicate online these days.
Yeah, for
For
everything.
work, for socializing,
For everything.
basically for everything. Yeah.
So these principles can really help us be more effective communicators in all aspects of our digital lives.
I think so too.
So whether you're creating a presentation for work
Okay.
or recording a video for your friends,
Uh-huh.
or even just trying to explain something to a family member on a video call,
Yeah.
remember to slow down.
Right.
Use clear descriptive language
Yeah.
and be mindful of your audience's perspective.
It's all about making that connection
Yeah.
with whoever's on the other side of the screen.
And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to encourage you to reflect on your own online learning and teaching experiences.
Yeah.
What works best for you?
Mm-hmm.
What are some challenges that you faced?
Right.
And how can you apply these insights
Yeah.
to make your digital interactions even better?
Exactly.
Because remember,
Yeah.
the world of online learning is
Yeah.
always changing.
Constantly evolving.
So embrace the opportunity to learn,
Yeah.
experiment,
Keep experimenting.
and grow.
That's it.
And until next time, happy learning, everyone.